Transport is responsible for 15% of global annual emissions. As the call for new forms of green energy becomes more urgent every year, Norway is the first to introduce a new and exciting measure to combat one of the biggest roadblocks to the widespread use of clean energy in cars: wireless charging roads for the city's electric taxi fleet. This new breakthrough is one of many steps in the effort of Norway's capital city, Oslo, to introduce a zero-emission cab system by 2023, and even more ambitiously, to allow only fully electric cars to be sold after 2025. Turning electric cars into an affordable, accessible option in order to achieve that goal won't be easy. Electric cars themselves aren't a new phenomenon. The first human-carrying electric vehicle was successfully tested in 1881 on the streets of Paris by French inventor Gustave Trouvé. Early electric cars competed against gasoline cars back then, too, advertising the lack of unpleasant vibration, smell, and noise associated with their competitors. Unfortunately, electric cars couldn't drive nearly as far without a recharge. They were much slower, and countries lacked any sort of recharging infrastructure. A handful of technological innovations in the 1920s to the 1950s for gas-powered cars shored up many of their weaknesses, and more importantly, worldwide discoveries of large petroleum reserves made gasoline much more affordable than its cleaner counterpart. Because of this, our modern infrastructure and technology is built upon a decades-old reliance on fossil fuels, requiring a serious overhaul in order to make electric cars affordable and practical. Oslo's electric charging roads are one step towards achieving this monumental task. How will the charging roads work? These new charging roads are designed by Finnish utilities firm Fortum in conjunction with US-based Momentum Dynamics and the municipal government of Oslo. The new taxis are fitted with a charging receiver on the bottom of the car, which, using electromagnetic induction, will make a completely wireless connection to the charging plate under the surface of the road, charging up to 75 kilowatts. The taxi charging roads will be the first wireless fast charging infrastructure of its kind. Induction charging, or electromagnetic induction, is when electric charges are sent through a thick coil of wire, the subsurface charging plate, which generates an electric current, in turn generating an electric current in a second coil. That's the car charging receiver. The process only requires that the two coils be near one another, but they need not be connected by any sort of cable. Now, this builds on the common modern charging station, which looks a lot like the much more common gas station. Electric vehicle owners park and hook up to the battery charger, but taxi drivers found this old system too time-consuming, resulting in this innovation. So how can Norway pull this off? Norway is uniquely suited to be leading this charge for other countries due to many economic and logistical factors. They have the highest rate of electric vehicle ownership in the world, outpacing Germany for Europe's fastest-growing EV market. Last year alone, people in Norway purchased a total of 46,143 new electric cars, or one of every 3 new cars sold. This puts them on target for their 2025 goal of completely ending sales of gas cars. Previously, sales of electric vehicles had broken the 50% mark in individual months, but 2020 marked the first time that fully electric cars outsold the combined volume of gas cars. Electric car sales skyrocketed in the final months of 2020, hitting their highest levels for any month ever in December, with a 66.7% share of the car market. The Scandinavian country also has a relatively small population of 5.3 million people, making it easier for the government to push forward sweeping infrastructure changes like this. Infrastructure changes don't take as long to complete and are less expensive, making it easier to bring people on board with the change. Perhaps equally important, there are no automotive companies based in Norway. This means no manufacturers are fighting against legislative incentives for people to switch to electric vehicles, which has resulted in numerous benefits for Norwegian EV drivers, such as exemption from certain vehicle taxes, free tolls, and free parking. There's also the question of where this green energy comes from. If the electrical sources are no better for the environment than the petrol they're replacing, there's little sense in undergoing such a transformative switch. Norway has this covered, leading the charge among countries with their push for wind and hydropower. So what does this mean for car buyers? This new progression offers a look forward at the future of electric vehicle car ownership. Fordham, the company chosen to spearhead these efforts alongside Oslo legislators, has been working a long time with the taxi industry to enable electrification of the taxi fleet. The greatest hurdle, much like with the average owner of a recreational electric vehicle, is the practicality of charging. It took too long for taxi drivers to find a charger, plug in, and wait for the car to charge. Making wireless charging affordable and accessible for taxi drivers is just one more reason to switch to electric. Right now, gas cars are the king of affordability and accessibility. Electric vehicles are more expensive. Gas is cheap, and you'd be hard-pressed to throw a rock without hitting a gas station. Electric charging stations are harder to find and are often slow at their task. With changes like this, switching to the cleaner alternative will become a no-brainer for consumers. The surging electric vehicle market also means that manufacturers are allocating more resources toward designing their own models. The American-based Tesla, known for leading the charge on electric cars, has new competition. Ford, BMW, and Volkswagen are all debuting electric SUVs to compete with the Model Y, Tesla's mid-sized electric sport utility vehicle. With gas and diesel down, they'll be forced to compete within the new market, meaning further options for consumers. What can this tell us about the future? This isn't just happening in Norway. Infrastructure changes around the globe are being pushed in favor of electric cars. The UK opened their first EV charging garage forecourt in December of 2020. The United States is beginning their own tests on charging electric cargo trucks via highway pavement. The all-electric future envisioned by Norway and other countries has been given a lift by the auto racing industry too. Extreme E is a recently announced FIA-sanctioned international off-road racing series which will utilize electric SUVs to race in remote parts of the world, such as the Saudi Arabian desert or the Arctic. This will help combat the image issue that some associate with electric cars. During the early 20th century race between gas and electric cars were stigmatized as women's cars, a perception that has only been reinforced since the more modern push for consumers to see gas and diesel guzzler vehicles as manly and cool. The Extreme E aims to raise awareness of the push for electrification and sustainability and aims to look cool while doing it. In a future where the majority, or even all, cars are battery-powered and require regular charging, there's a need to address the inevitable bottleneck of vehicles requiring the use of a charging station. Gas stations being entirely replaced by charging stations is one simple solution, but it doesn't account for the necessary transition between the two modes of energy. It's not possible or practical for everyone to drop their gas car and replace it with an electric one tomorrow, which means that things like charging roads are necessary. They come with their own cans of worms, of course. Calculating the metrics to design a network of charging roads is a necessary and significant undertaking, and won't result in a one-size-fits-all solution for urban centers and rural areas alike. One issue that remains is the fact that the car must be parked while charging. No matter how quick charging the new plates under the road are, it still means the vehicle must be parked for a set amount of time. The aim with the new technology is for the roads to be just as, if not more convenient, than filling up at a gas station. Some companies are looking into the possibility of utilizing the same technology to have cars charge while driving along certain roads, which would eliminate the issue entirely, if achievable. Norway's electric car charging roads are only one step towards a fully electric future. When implemented, they'll shore up one of the biggest roadblocks which exists for electric vehicles and function as a testing ground for technology that might be implemented worldwide.